Hello and welcome to the Island Lamb, and I'm Diane, and this is episode 19, Island Hopping. And as you can see, I am no longer on Block Island. So my husband and I went on vacation and we visited the United States Virgin Islands, and this video that you're seeing right here was filmed on St. Thomas. And we started our vacation on St. John and we ended on St. Thomas, and the United States Virgin Islands is made up of 3 islands: St. John, St. Thomas, and St. Croix. And on a clear day, you can look out from our view from this little deck and you can see St. Croix. But the west end of St. Thomas has become memorable for us. So 14 years ago, on one of my memorable birthdays, my husband asked me, "What do you want for your birthday?" Now, I'm born in February, and there was always a snowstorm around my birthday. Even when I was born, I believe there was a snowstorm. And as a little kid, you know, hoping there wasn't going to be a snowstorm on your birthday when all your little friends are coming over to have a little party. And so when my husband asked me what I wanted, I said, "I'd like to be warm." And so we had friends who were already coming out here, and they said, "You need to try it out." So we came out and we did a little vacation here, and then it got under our skin. And I've talked to you before about how I am infatuated with the colors blues and greens. And growing up on the Atlantic Ocean, I saw lots of blues and greens, but coming here changed my whole perspective of blues and greens. So these colors you don't see in your Crayola crayon box when you're growing up. So I hope you're seeing these beautiful aquas and these sapphire blues, and as the sun comes and goes, those colors are constantly changing. And I'm trying to film this before it gets too sunny and too windy, because that's what happens here. The cloud comes by, you get a little relief, the cloud leaves, the sun is hot, it's perfect, it's gorgeous, and there's always this beautiful trade wind. So speaking of these blues and greens, I wanted to show you what I've been working on, because I couldn't just come here without my knitting. So my husband gave me this beautiful white peasant dress for my birthday, and I hadn't planned on wearing this dress, so I didn't really have a belt. So what I did bring with me was this cone, this gorgeous cone of cotton that I bought at, I believe, Walmart. And it was a huge cone, and it's 100% cotton. Cotton is made in the United States. I don't have the label with me, but I want to say it's called Sugar and Cream, or Cream and Sugar maybe. And it comes in lots of different colors. It's very raw feeling. Even though this is dyed, it has a bit of a raw feeling. I wouldn't want to wear this next to me. But I did make myself this little belt, and I think you saw a picture of me earlier where you can see this belt. And I just did a little pointy corner on each end, and I did a couple of rows of garter and then a couple of rows of stocking knit, and just let the colors of this beautiful cone mimic the colors I was seeing, and that was a lot of fun. And because the cone was so big, I also decided to make a market bag. So this is a market bag that I make often, and I've made it in this yarn, and I think I've made it in some also some stash yarn. And this pattern is called the Girlfriend Market Bag, and you can find it on Ravelry. And I know that because I made it while I was here, and I looked it up on my iPad. It's got a beautiful bottom where you make a little, 8-stitch ring, and then you start working out and you start increasing, and once you get to a certain number of stitches on the bottom, it's just a knit 2 together, yarn over, knit 2 together, yarn over, and then eventually when it's as big as you would like it to be, it's a garter stitch, and then you decrease some stitches and you leave some on, put some on a holder, and you work up the garter stitch, and then you graft it. So it's a fun, easy bag to make, easy to travel with, because all I needed was the cone and my needles. So that kept me busy for a little while. And then I also brought some cotton that I had in my stash, and I'd had it in my stash for quite a while, and I had a lot of it. And this is by Elizabeth Lavold, and it's the Designer's Choice Hempathy. So this again is a cotton, it's also hemp and some modal. And this is what the label looks like. And I hope you can see that, but I will put it in the show notes. And I had quite a few skeins of this, and it was lightweight, so it was easy to pack. I had no idea what I was going to make with it, but I brought it. And while I was here, I started thinking about lace, not too much, but a little lace work maybe a little cover up. I wasn't sure I had enough for a full dress, but I found this pattern. And I'm also hopefully showing you a photo of it hanging on the little deck line here. So this is a really fun pattern, and I do recommend it, and I think I'm going to make this again, and I'd like to convert it and maybe figure out a way to make it as a dress. But so this is a drops design. It is called Summer Elegance, and you start it at the top. So this has since been rolled over and stitched down, but you started at the top, you cast on the stitches, you are working in stocking knit until you get to a certain point wide enough for you to, and in the pattern recommended putting elastic through it. Well, I didn't have access to elastic here, and I kind of wanted to wear it, so I made a long I-cord, and I just ran the I-cord through. And I really kind of like this because depending if I have a bathing suit on underneath it or if I'm tucking in a shirt, I can adjust for the amount of bulk that I'm tucking in. Now, what I will do when I get home, and right now, at least out here, it's impossible to find a slip. I don't even know if women, I know I haven't worn a slip in, I don't know how many years, 20 years or more. I don't even know if we can still find them. But worst case scenario, I'm going to make myself a little linen under garment to wear with this, so I could also, you know, wear it out and not just at the beach. Excuse me. So there's a couple of little patterns, little different lace patterns, and you can really modify this. Now the pattern showed it a little shorter. I made this section longer. I could even see this being even longer. And like I said, I wished I had enough yarn when I was making it to consider making a dress. And I realized when I was finished with the skirt, I still had 3 skeins. So I'm playing, you know, I like to do that sometimes. I found a tank top pattern online. And so I'm using the basics for the tank top. And you can see I've got the top of this going. We're gonna pick up stitches. We're gonna work some straps. I'm doing it in the round. It's plain in the back. I've just cleared what I think is going to be a comfortable bust position. I'm working some rib, and now I'm back to stocking knit. I only have a skein of this left, and so I'm going to knit a little bit longer. I'm going to pick up the stitches, build the bands, and see how far it goes. It may not work. I may rip it out and use it for something else later on. So speaking of patterns, oh, and by the way, that pattern is definitely on Ravelry. It's drops design. It's called the Summer Elegance. But I wanted to talk about 2 of the patterns that I referenced in my last episode, and there has been some a challenge getting a hold of those patterns. So the first one I mentioned, excuse me, I'm a little tickled, was the Sadar denim chunky sweater, the one that I had made in the chunky many years ago, and I had a catastrophe with it, and then I remade it in the wool. And I said that that pattern was available, and I said I wasn't sure if that pattern was available, and if it wasn't, and I didn't think there was going to be a copyright problem, I could probably give that pattern to you. But what I discovered with the help of one of the viewers is that after 1927, all of these things are protected. And so you've got to go back and check with the designer or check with the company that produced the pattern and see what the story is. We have a helicopter going by right now, and I'm going to stop and I'm going to take a sip of water so I can continue. Okay, the helicopter has passed. I've had a little sip, and I was talking about the patterns from my previous episode that we had a challenge finding. So the Sadar denim chunky pullover is available, and this is how we need to access it. So we're going to go into sadar.com, and from the home page we're going to go into the Heritage Collection. And once you get to the home page, you're going to tap on 80s. They have 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. So this is a huge archive of all their past patterns. So we'll tap on the 80s, and then we'll type in the search bar 5897. That's the number of the pattern. And this is truly a vintage pattern. So what they've done is they have photographed it and then put it into a digital form. So we're going to see the crinkles and the wrinkles on the original pattern. So I think this is going to be fun. And you know, I've never done a cowl. But maybe we'll do some kind of a little impromptu fun knit along, because I think there were 6 of you viewers who were interested in making this. So that could be a lot of fun. It's just the challenge of finding what kind of yarn we want to use. The second pattern I talked about last episode was that cute little bag, and that was the cabled bag by Patterns, and can't find that pattern. So I've called into Patterns, I've left a message, we'll hear what we find out. That's how I found out about Sador. I called them and they directed me to the Heritage Collection. So I'm hoping we'll find something. If not, it was originally a free pattern, and I'm thinking if we can't find it and they let us, I can share it. So there is a copyright protection that exists on these patterns, even if they're not in print, so we've got to be very careful. So I'll keep you posted on the purse, and in the meantime we can have fun working on that pullover. The last thing I wanted to talk with you about is, even when we're on vacation, we like to still think about all the things, especially when we're on vacation. I guess it's easier when we're on vacation to think about the things we're grateful for. And I had mentioned to you a book that my husband and I read often called Simple Abundance, and it's a daily affirmation book where you have things that remind you about simplicity, gratitude, harmony, joy. And my cousin gave me for Christmas the Simple Abundance Journal of Gratitude. So what this little book is your own journal, and it's daily, and it allows you by day to put in a few gratitudes. And in the book Simple Abundance, the author Sarah Van Brackneck suggests even five gratitudes. And so we've been doing that, and it's interesting the things that you will, you know, in the beginning you've got, you know, I'm grateful for my health, I'm grateful for my family, I'm grateful for a roof over my head. But eventually you start thinking of things like, I'm grateful for the smell of cinnamon raisin toast. And that's what I smelled this morning, because it's Sunday and my husband likes to make breakfast on Sunday, and the smell of cinnamon raisin toast is one of those things I am grateful for. So I'm grateful for you, and I'm grateful for all the feedback I got from that last podcast. And you drove me to go in search of those patterns, and I will be much more careful in the future that when I talk about a pattern that I've done the research in advance, so that you all don't have to go scrambling. So from St. Thomas, I wish you a beautiful week, and the next time I see you, we'll be talking about spring knits, and I'll be back on Block Island. Goodbye. Thank you.